All right, so something else that you wanted to talk about, which I love talking about people like this, is mental health and farming. I mean, there's a lot that goes on a farm. If you're a farmer, rancher, wherever, whatever country you're in, how has it been for you as a full-time farmer and rancher? Like, how has mental health impacted you, and what's your whole idea on mental health and farming?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty huge topic, and I've noticed it for myself too. I guess I haven't had any, I'd say, large struggles with it. I've had times where I had to step back and really check myself, but
Mm,
I think it's especially something in this age, and it's become, how do you say it? There's probably been more hype around farm stores, the Instagram
mm,
side of farming, and I don't know, it's something we have to be careful with too, right? Social media has been awesome for growing businesses and advertising your business, and yet at the same time, I wish we were never on it.
yeah.
It's some days it can be soul sucking just about, right? Like investing so much time, and it really can take away, I think, from from the real connections that are right beside you, right? Um, we've really noticed that. For my wife does most of the social media stuff. I'm on it too. Um, but if you're not careful, it can just take over, right? And it gets in the way of our relationship and our kids. And I think that's huge. And I think we can see everybody else on social media, and people. I mean, they can take some amazing pictures, and everything can look so super good and rosy to all of
Mm-hmm.
us sitting here on our phones, and it doesn't feel so good about what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to take those checks, and it's all right to check out once in a while. And we have periods too. We try to really push on online, and do a good job of advertising and this and that. And other times we just say, you know what, it's not worth it right now. We just need to slow down, take a step back. Yeah, we'll post a few times a week, but yeah, we have to take our time here, and check in with our friends and with our kids and our wives and our husbands. And yeah, it's just something that I think can really take over take over our lives if we're not careful. And yeah, it's one of the tough things though, especially when there is a lot of stresses, and all the work and the financials, and it affects your family so closely that it's easy to check out and live in this alternate reality. And yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's so difficult because I mean, having a good social media presence can like really boost your business, but then you see people that are doing it different than you. And then like I've experienced this with the podcast, like you see people doing it better and having more success, and you're like, well, dang it, like why can't I do that? I mean, I don't know. It's not really FUMO, but it's more like a double standard. Like you're jealous of their impact, you're jealous of what they're doing, and you're holding yourself to a higher standard. There's a lot that goes on there, and if you like you're saying, if you don't check out, if you don't take a break from social media, it's gonna be bad for you, like mental health wise.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's so crucial. Like you said, you just see other people and you want to keep up with them. When in reality, it's just maybe it's not exactly the direction you're meant to go, right?
Hmm.
You have what you're called to do, and responsibilities that you have that don't necessarily allow you to do the exact same things that somebody else does. And maybe you won't have the same measure of success, but maybe your success might come, 2 years down the road, even though you think it should happen now, and you just have to be patient and wait for
Hmm. What's that word? Patience? That's something I'm still trying to learn because that's really hard to come by. But no, for real.
it.
I mean, you can see so many people online, building businesses and stuff, but rarely do you know the blood, sweat, and tears that they went through to build all that. The time, maybe they quit their day job and that's why their content is going up through the roof. I mean, you
Yeah,
just never really know. But it's that old expression, like the grass is always greener. Like,
yeah,
oh, it looks
exactly.
like they have their life figured out, their business figured out, their social media figured out. Why can't I do that? When in
Yep.
reality, they might be looking at our content and be saying, hey, why can't my content be as good as theirs? Like they're doing it
Oh yeah.
a different way. It's not better, but it's different. Like, why can't I get to that point?
Yep. That's for sure. Yep. Definitely.
Yeah, it's wild. And so, I mean, there's something that I think in Wyoming, in the United States, I think in Montana, they're making more resources available for farmers in terms of mental health. I mean, are there more pushes like that in Canada? Like what's Canada doing for farmers and mental health?
Yeah, it's definitely become a much larger movement here now too.
Hmm.
There's a lot of resources. Even Farm Credit here has a lot of they'll do webinars and seminars and talks on it. I think it's become a pretty commonplace conversation in a lot of the ag organizations. Um, and I think you see more farmers coming out, and I mean, that is one big positive upside of social media too, is you see individuals that step out and really become vulnerable on these platforms, and it is a great big help because and they reach a lot of people. So it's got a lot of negatives, but it's got some pretty good positives too.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, there's been a lot more people kind of open about it. I mean, one show I like to talk about is Ag State of Mind. It's a podcast by
Yeah,
Jason Meadows. Yeah, he's
yeah,
he's been covering mental health and ag, which is amazing, and more people are talking about it, talking about their struggles. Because I mean, unlike, I mean, this happens outside of agriculture, but I would say honestly more so in ag, where you've got more family businesses and family farms. And I mean, when you're farming, when you're ranching, and it's a fifth or sixth or maybe 10th generation farm, like that's a lot of pressure
oh
where
yeah,
you're not trying to just let down, your employees. You don't want to let down your family, your
yep.
parents, your grandparents, your siblings, your kids. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And I mean, like, honestly, from a farmer's perspective, how do you step back from that? Like, how do you draw that line a little bit where you've got to, make sure you're working diligently for your family, but also draw that line and just say, you know what, I also need to focus on my family right now.
hmm Yeah, it's definitely really tough line to to draw on about like yeah, especially times of year like when we're planting and harvesting and that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
It gets tough. Um, because yeah, on one side you say, hey, I got to step back and take time for my family and this and that. On the other hand, yeah, if I don't do this work right now and it rains tomorrow and our crop doesn't get in the ground, well, that's yeah. But at the same, I don't know. It's definitely a tough line to draw, and I think it's one you kind of it takes. I think it takes discipline to learn and
Mm.
discipline to actually carry out. It also takes some pretty open and honest conversations, like with my family right now. We're doing some succession planning for the family
Mm.
farm between my dad and my brother, and I think that really makes you step back and look at all that too, and us being able to have those open conversations with each other about what we actually want
Hmm.
and what we think will work. It goes such a long ways, and I think sometimes we think, oh, that person's not doing what they should do, and they're not pulling their weight. I'm doing so much more. When you sit down and actually talk about it, yeah, okay, they've got this going on or that going on. I might have to step up for this period of time or whatever, and it all works itself out if you just actually talk about it.
Yeah, communication is key. I mean, I'm finding that, that's so relatable in any business and any relationship, any marriage. I mean, stuff happens. You might have some assumptions, they might have some assumptions, like just communicate. Like just,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
don't worry about it. Just have that conversation. It might be a little bit awkward, it might be a little bit weird, but you'll come out at the end of it much more appreciative and much better for the relationship
Yeah,
as a whole.
definitely. Yeah.